Hi guys, and welcome to this week's summerween reading vlog because we're right in the middle of summer and fall, and the best way to celebrate is by reading that sort of aesthetic of books, and that just sounds like little heaven to me because that is something I've been looking forward to for so long now that let's just jump right in. So now for context, if you aren't already aware, summerween is a concept I've recently come to terms with and acquainted with because I wasn't actually aware of it, but I've been seeing other people do vlogs on it, and it got me inspired and motivated to do my own, wherein it's like a concept of sort of celebrating fall in the summertime, and that just sounds perfect and peak to me because right now where I live, at least, it's been raining non-stop over the past month or so, and I feel like summer's already over here, right? And so I just need to embrace that fall aesthetic now as we fully transition into perfect fall, and nothing sounds better than doing this because, again, as I'm growing up, I'm starting to realize that while summer is my favorite season, fall is a close second, and reading that sort of aesthetic of books and getting excited for cozy weather and leaves falling and pumpkin themed anything, that just sounds so fun to me, which is why that's today's vlog. We'll basically try to read all sort of thrillers and fantasies and anything that gives you a summer weenie sort of vibe, and hopefully it definitely feels like it's set in the summertime just with a fall vibe because that's what I'm looking for, and hopefully the TBR that I have picked out will be good enough in that sort of aesthetic, which is why those are plans today. Let's just jump right into me kind of picking up and reading our first book because, again, I have a bunch of things today. I need to listen to a bunch of audiobooks, hopefully get them done as I'm finishing off my workload, and then we'll see where we go from there. But that's basically today's plan. It's going to be really fun because I haven't anticipated a themed reading vlog the way I've been anticipating this one for the amount of time that I've been doing it, which is why it's finally time. Let's just jump right in, and that's today's video. Gonna be a fun one, hopefully. Hi guys, and update number one time, I ended up picking up a fantasy to start off the vlog because I figured that gives perfect summer weenie sort of vibes because it's cozy and comfortable while you're sitting down to read it, but it's spooky enough that there's actual shit going down in it, and it definitely gives that mid-season sort of atmospheric vibes that I wanted, and this one gave. So it's kind of perfect. I'm done with it now, and I figured we could discuss. But before anything, yesterday was Sunday. I had an extremely busy day, honestly, and the past week I was recording this one video where I was reading only on Kindle, although you will see this video before you see that one. That one won't come out for a few weeks even though it's ready. It's just because of the way my management works in my head. But just know that thanks to that, I didn't have the chance to listen to anything in the span of the last week, and I love doing audio-based activities because most of the stuff I do anyway, I don't really have inspiration to do it unless I'm listening to a book, and because I didn't get to do that last week, some of the work that I would generally do with an audiobook kind of piled up into this week, which I already started off with yesterday itself, to the point where I did start 2 audiobooks yesterday itself, get a bunch of the way through because I had to, number one, sort out this virus I got in my pen drive because it's kind of not convenient to carry my laptop every day to college, thanks to which I carry pen drives, and all my files got corrupt to the point where I had to fix all of that. So listening to a book as I was fixing it, it took some time, but I got it done. Apart from that, obviously laundry, the usual, and then getting my shit cleaned up, ready, fixing the room up. Today the commute to and from college, even in college, I ended up starting one more book on my phone because I was just in such a reading mood overall, because I don't think I've been more excited for a themed video since probably this one in a while, which is why I figured now that we're in the middle of 3 books, I want to actually get one done and come and update. And with that, I have done the first audiobook, and so I figured let's sit down and chat. This one is called, I think, Terror at the Gates. Is part of the Blood of Lilith series. It was actually sent to me as an arc, but I'm getting to it literally a year later because I'm not in the biggest fantasy mood, but when I get into it, I think I'm going to get into it this year because honestly, past few weeks, I've been reading quite a bit more fantasy than I normally would, and I've been excited to get to it because it's a fun genre, and this is more romantasy, but it still works because I had so much fun listening. So thank you so much to the publisher for my audio copy. Originally, this would have been the final book I would have read in a different reading vlog from last year, but then I think I ended up getting tired or something like that. I'll have it on screen, and it was getting late. It was a pulling an all-nighter sort of video to the point where I ended up just substituting with music because this has bigger stuff going on in it that, again, you need to have brain power to kind of understand. But now that I finally have gotten to it, I don't know why I was so intimidated and why it took me so long, because it was really fun. In it, we follow Lilith. She, in her world, the church is very prominent, and they only appreciate submissive, pious, easygoing women and whatnot, because here the women are like powerful and the men want to dominate because they're all the smallest men who ever lived. And so because she's more, I guess, like dominant and adamant not to fall under their grasp, she's automatically labeled like a witch and stuff, and the way they treat her is on the basis of that, because she is the embodiment of female rage and they are the smallest men who ever lived, so they cannot stand it. And so in this world there's 5 ruling families, out of which she is the daughter of one of them, and the leader of a different family, the Zareth family. He's called Zaharif, and he is the one who is given her care to take care of, where she's like absconding from the church, you can say, in a roundabout way. So she has like a couple years of freedom before she has to get back to her father's roof and then get married and whatever the church expects of her. Except in those 2 years of freedom now, she's doing everything she can to kind of make enough money and get away from their grasp and stuff. It's like an urban fantasy, and it felt so weird that, you know, there's like fantasy elements and they're like hunting down demons and stuff, but they're also able to text each other on phones and stuff. So money is definitely an issue in the world. But the thing is, as she's doing all of this, she has this thing wherein she steals from people and then sells her stolen wares for more extra money, and that's the way she's doing it. And one day she ends up stealing this extremely important like blade that is part of like some myths and stuff, but she doesn't know the backstory behind it and how much trouble it could land her in. So she ends up kind of teaming up with Zaharif, who is a dangerous man, but he's got like a soft spot for her because he's like secretly been in love with her and he's like pining for her, and so he agrees to help. It's like a whole conspiracy wherein they're trying to figure out what happened, why is the blade doing what it's doing, because anyone who touches it, they like end up bleeding out in the eyes and turning into a devil and dying and stuff. She needs to figure out the backstory behind it, why the church wants it so bad and why, you know, all these other things are happening. Except as they're hanging out, they're spending all this time together, she's realizing that, hey, he likes her back and he wants her. And like, honestly, all I'll say is the fantasy in this book fell so short for me. It was so underwhelming because literally nothing felt like it was happening until the very end, and it was kind of boring because like, whatever, it wasn't like the best fantasy I've ever read, but the romance, it was so good. Oh my god, I don't think I've read such a great romantasy in quite a while now, since I gave Long Live Evil 5 stars, because the romance in this, it was insane. The like pining and the tension and the yearning and the quotes and like the slow burn of it, I had so much fun, to the point where I don't know what I want to rate it, because the fantasy was boring and that's the point of the book, but then the romance was so good, and Zari was going to be like my number one probably romantasy book boyfriend for a while now. So like, I don't know, okay? I don't think I felt this giggly since I read like Rishan's book 2 in Akatar like a couple years ago, to the point where I don't know what I want to do right now. I don't know what I want to rate it, but I did finish this book out, and maybe it's like a 3.5, 4.5, something along those lines. I'll have the final on screen. It's just, I just finished and I had a great time overall reading anyway, especially listening on my commute and like trying to hold in my giggles in public because it was that good. So I can't wait to continue the series when the next one comes out. It's not like a burning itch. It's not something I'll lose sleep over, because frankly I don't care for the fantasy cliffhanger we left off on. It's just the romantasy, that was great, which is why book number 1, it's done now. I still have one more audiobook that I'm nearly done with, because I listen to my audiobooks sped up and I've been doing quite a bit in the past couple days, that I would like to finish tonight as well, but I don't know if I'll come in and update, because there is again quite a bit of it. I want to go have dinner, I want to finish like an assignment or 2 as well, which is why hopefully by tomorrow when I come in, I will have one more audiobook done, which I'm already in the middle of. And then today in college, because we have like different lectures and stuff and like timetables that are not really organized as to a student's convenience, I had like a 2-hour gap between my classes, during which I had literally nothing to do, and I forgot to carry my Kindle with me. Genius, because I had that gut feeling that it was going to happen today, but did not carry it. So I was reading on my phone. I did start something new there as well, and I would like to hopefully continue that in the meanwhile too, because it's also a summerween book in my opinion, which is why by tomorrow my goal is to finish both of these other books, but we'll just have to see what I end up doing. And that's the update for now. I'm gonna get back to it, and hopefully the next books are as good as this one was, because it was incredible. I had so much fun, and yeah, maybe I'm getting in my romantasy era again, who knows. But that's about it. See y'all in a bit, and bye. Hi. So it's Tuesday. I'm in my mom's room right now. It's still the morning, because first time I'm coming in for such an early update, and that's because yesterday night I did manage to finish out a book. It's called Watching You, the other audiobook that I was listening to, and I figured let's speak about that really quick. In this, we basically follow this like really posh neighborhood, and everyone's like reserved and rich, and they've got their own secrets. And one of the persons there is called Tom Fitzwilliam. He is the headmaster of the local school, and he has a great reputation in town as of recently, except when you start digging into his past, he's got like skulls in his closet because, back in the day, apparently he got involved with a student being the headmaster still, and that girl, she ended up killing herself, and it made it to the local papers and everything, and he was like the top suspect, but then the case was dismissed. And now years later, you follow him in that same neighborhood, and there's this new woman that moves into the same locality. She moves into her brother's house there, so now she becomes his new neighbor, and she's like half his age, Joey. She's still an adult, but she's half his age, and she starts falling in love with him and whatnot. She has the biggest crush on him, and she thinks it's gonna be a secret because, again, all the secrets in this book, except his son has got these like really weird tendencies of like staying up in his attic window and like watching everyone from there, which is why it's called Watching You. But then also there's like another reason, and the thing is, he ends up taking like a bunch of pictures and stuff, and he catches it on camera that, hey, maybe they have something going on. And then on the other hand, you have one of the girls in his school that, suspects him of being very shady, not as he seems to be, because everyone in town likes him. But you know how you get that one tingling feeling that there's that one person everyone likes and, feels great with, except there's something wrong with them, and in the back of your mind, that's this girl, and she just wants to prove it because she believes he's like weird and stuff. And like it all culminates into like this one big thing coming back into haunt them all from their past. There's like a murder, so it's like past and present. They're trying to figure out, the police, in the investigation, like what's going on. And like overall, I feel like the reason I take so long in between like reading this author's backlist is because I enjoy her books, because every time I read her stories, the premise is good enough that I get sucked in. It's just the actual story, it's like dark and depressing, and the ending is just always sort of like open-ended and very sad. And like with the kind of ending we got with this one, it was like, I don't even know what to say. It was just like really sad, and I did guess it, don't get me wrong. I guessed like most of it. The very last open ending thing, I didn't guess that, but like who was behind it all, I did guess all of that. It's just when it actually came to, she writes in such like a provocative way that you just feel so bad for these characters, and like it's realistic. So if you're going into it expecting like a crazy mystery thriller where there's like 6 killers and like insane plot twist like other mystery thriller books, no, it's just like something that you'd probably feel like you've seen on like the news somewhere, or you watched on like a Netflix show, because it feels like something that would happen in real life, unfortunately. But that's the whole aspect of adding like a level of realness to it, when that's why you feel bad for the people, which is why overall 3 stars. Like I was sucked in to see where it would go, but then by the ending I was just feeling bad overall for like what happened, and it was kind of justified, but at the same time, I don't know. It's really up to open interpretation, because there's a lot that goes on in this book, and it's just up to people. It's still not my favorite by this author, and I think again I will take a few months break before I get into another one of her books, because I don't want to get into one of those moods again when I'm feeling weird after I'm done reading. But my favorite of hers is still I Found You, which I started panicking after reading, so that was also a fun experience. If you want to go try that out for yourself, it's just done with this now. This morning I did end up starting like a different audiobook as I was doing the beds before going to college and whatnot, and I thought I would listen to more of it on the commute, except for some reason, as it turns out, the roads on the way there have been closed because of this like rally, and it's like not safe and stuff. So I'm at home. That was really fun. Woke up for nothing, got ready for nothing, and now I'm at home. So I've been working on my PC. I need something downloaded on the laptop, so I've been figuring that out. And in the meanwhile, I've gotten back to the Kindle read, and I'm still in the middle of 2 books, one audiobook and this, except I'm 50% of the way through this right now. So depends what we end up finishing next. It's just now I have my whole day ahead of me at home, hopefully getting in more reading, which is why, let's see, hopefully we get more like creepy fun summer weenie vibes, because this book definitely gave it, and the next ones are kind of giving it, but I really just need to see what happens next. And so I'll get to my reading now, update you all once I have more things to say, and let's see how many books we get done today, now that I'm home the entire day and I have quite a few audiobook heavy tasks to finish, in the middle of which I'll be Kindle reading, and those are my plans essentially. So it's Wednesday. I managed to finish both of the books that I was in the middle of yesterday, and then I started something new today, so I figured we're long overdue an update. The first book I managed to finish out was the Kindle book. I have been reading it in random spurts, and it was like short with like quick chapters and stuff, to the point where I just kept going back to it and flipping back every second I had free and whatnot, and then in the matter of no time I managed to finish it out. And this one's called How to Survive a Horror Movie. It was sent to me by the publisher, so thank you so much for my copy. I have indeed read it much later than it's come out, but at least I've read it, if you know what I mean. And for a quick premise on this book, essentially we follow this one girl called Charlie. Something insane happens in her past that kind of ruins her life to the point where now her parents kind of have to pull strings, and her mom finally managed to get her into this like prestigious all girls like boarding school that's set on this remote island. And the thing is, she ends up enrolling mid-year, so her only job right now is to keep her head down and kind of finish the year out, because again, things happened in the past. She's not supposed to draw attention to herself or anything like that. And the thing is, everything should be fine. She's a horror movie enthusiast, so she finds this one best friend on the entire island that she is the only one who can get along with her, and they have a good time kind of watching these movies together and hanging out and doing all these fun things. And so things should basically be okay. Actually, more than okay, because honestly, they're on this remote island. It's very much giving like the gothic aesthetics and stuff. They're studying there, they're having a good time. It's giving like the dark academia vibes, and it should be great until there's this one serial killer that emerges that starts picking off all the girls in her grade one at a time. And the thing is, because she is the new girl and because she's kind of like a loner and no one really knows anything about her, they're quick to assume that she's behind it because of her weird obsession with horror movies. So now she and her friend Olive have to try to figure out who the slasher is before they end up getting slashed themselves. Except there's like a bunch of twists and stuff, and everyone still starts suspecting her, so she's like being put away and things, and every time she's the one who's like discovering the body. So it's like giving her mental trauma to the point where she starts seeing the ghosts of the girls who are dead, and they are also kind of trying to help the investigation. And basically it's supposed to be like a horror movie come to life that she's trying to survive in. Except for me personally, this book felt a bit of like a caricature of like a horror movie, and by that I mean like a very poorly one done from like the 90s, because those like badly edited, not even that scary sort of movies that we'd watch back in the day with popcorn just to pass the time because there was nothing better to do. Because the movies aren't like incredible in themselves, it's just the vibes you're watching for, because they're not actually that scary. They're kind of hilarious, but then also you're just watching for the sake of watching. That's what it was giving. Because personally I feel like, number one, she's a bit too horror movie obsessed, and there's nothing wrong with that, but every time she's like referencing some of the other movie, and because I haven't watched many of them, it was definitely like disconcerting reading it, because I was getting like bored and checked out because I couldn't care less. I didn't know the references, so because I wasn't going to go ahead and research them, it kind of fell flat for me in that end. And then also the actual mystery and the way it goes and stuff, it's a YA book, so the descriptions don't really go anywhere. All the time she figures someone's dead or whatnot, they're all just screaming and there's nothing really coming off it. And I wish it was more like proper horror, because that would have been fun to read about. It's just it wasn't, which is why overall maybe like a 3-star read, because it was okay to like binge and stuff. It definitely wasn't just the best thing I've ever read, but yeah, I did finish it out. She was the biggest horror enthusiast to the point where it did get a bit annoying sometimes as well. It was kind of giving pick me in a roundabout way, because if you count the amount of times Stephen King is referred in this book specifically, and if you take like a shot every time that happens, you'll probably die of like an alcohol overdose, because it was just a bit overly done. I feel like it was a bit too melodramatic for me, which is why this was book number 1. It was good to binge, and it definitely did give me the vibes and aesthetics, and I'm definitely starting to understand that I enjoyed this sort of, I guess, aesthetics of a book, because now I've been more excited than ever to like get to the rest of the TBR I have picked out for this video, because I am loving the vibes. It's just this one specifically was a bit flat for me because I didn't like the characters, I didn't like where it was going. It was boring as hell, and the last like plot twist, it made no sense whatsoever. So here we are. So one thing is that they kept talking about how they hate like horror movies getting sequels on and on and on again, continuing the story where it could have literally just stopped. And then when you look it up on Goodreads, the book is being, I guess, turned into a series or something like that. And the thing is, the second one is already out. It's going to be a trilogy. I looked it up, and everyone says the second one is good, but I don't think I care enough to read it, so I won't. And also that, it's kind of funny that they referred that they don't like it, but it's being dragged into another book and whatnot. And I did read the summary for the second one, but it makes again no sense to me, because it could have ended at the point that it ends in this book, on sort of like a scary, slightly open ending situation, and that still would have been fine. It's just being dragged out into more books. I don't know if that's my cup of tea and if I cared enough for it, which is why that's about it for this one. Done with it now. Next book I ended up finishing out was the audiobook. I didn't have a lot left on it, and I was awake in the night getting a bunch of other things done, so I figured, let's listen in, let's continue and get this through as well. This one's called Local Woman Missing, and basically the cover is what I wanted in terms of vibes from this book, which is why I picked it up in the first place, because we have this like picture perfect like little neighborhood and stuff, and it's all supposed to be great, all like affluent families, good families basically, living their lives out, decent careers. It's supposed to be all safe and nice, except one day this one woman called Shelley goes missing. A few days later, this other woman called Meredith and her younger daughter, so her 11-year-old kid Delilah, goes missing. And suddenly everyone's just like, what's going on in the neighborhood? who is taking these women? Are they being killed? What's happening? Because like bodies aren't discovered and stuff. And then what's really going on? Is it like not safe anymore? And what happened to the kid that was taken away? There's a bunch of questions, and also the fact that Shelley and Meredith knew each other. So like, is it something that connects the two of them? Is something going on, something strange happening, and they're trying to figure out what's happening and get answers to it? Except then fast forward to present day and modern timeline, we follow Delilah as all these years later she's actually come back, and we don't know yet what happened to Meredith. It's just been like hinted about, but slowly like a picture is starting to develop, and now you're trying to understand and see what clues they're able to get out of Delilah, trying to figure out the whole mystery coming into place, because it's been spanning like decades and stuff, and like all these local women who went missing, what really happened to them? Why is she back now? Where was she in all the time spent that she was gone, Delilah? And so it's an interesting book. The premise also is interesting, but I feel like there were too many perspectives in this book for me to actually understand what was going on in the first like 20 odd percent. And then once I started reading, I was wondering why one of the perspectives was even there, because it makes no sense until like the very end, which is like a dead giveaway for what's happening. So like, make it make sense. But then also apart from that, it's slow, and I feel like not really a lot happens, and all the plot twists you get in the book, they feel like mini stories amongst themselves that have just been like with wrong place wrong time sort of like stacked upon each other to make like a bigger story, which is how this compounded into a book. Otherwise it makes really no sense, because all of them are like shorter like stories that were resolved in some or the other way, and they all have like reasonable explanations, but like it does not lead into a good like shocking twist for the very end of it, which is why overall there's that. There's also the final twist as per what really happened to Delilah and who took her and stuff, and that it just pissed me off, because honestly I didn't like it. I was just like, what the hell did I just read? Because it still would have been fine until that very ending twist. Like, it made zero sense. And yeah, here we are. I'm done with the book now. Also didn't really like this one a lot, but I'm gonna give it 3 stars anyway, because it wasn't like a bad book. It was just like good to waste my time with. And apart from that, at this moment in time right now, I did start another audiobook because I needed something to listen to, and I got halfway through with it at this point. So I would like to go and hopefully finish it out by tonight if I can. And I did start something on Kindle as well, but I'm only like 3 chapters into that, so I have like no hopes as per finishing it in the next couple of days, because I am a bit busy right now, which is why let's see what we end up doing next. Is just pray that my next books are better, because right now I'm not getting the best vibes from either of them either. So now it really just depends. I just want a good summer weenie horror sort of book, and like, is it too much to ask for? Because we did have like a good one before that. It's just now, where are we? If you know what I mean. Which is why, let's get back to it. I'll get to my reading now. See y'all in a bit, and pray for it to improve, because I'm sick of getting 3 stars in a row. I just need something incredible right now. I take back every complaint in my last clip. It's only a few hours later, and all I'm gonna say is I don't know which skies accepted my prayer of asking for a 4-star, because we found it. I finished the audiobook that I was halfway through with, and I had only halfway left off. And all I'll say is that halfway was still a decent amount, even though I was listening to it sped up. And this entire evening, it's been raining outside, so I had like the perfect like atmospheric setting. But I have been sitting here non-stop, working on my laptop, getting an assignment done, and listening to this audiobook the entire time, forcing myself to be productive just so I get more time to kind of hear it out and finish it out and see where it goes, because this was absolutely insane. So let's discuss. It's called Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. For a quick premise, we essentially follow Jewell, who's very down bad in terms of her luck in life at the moment, because she catches her boyfriend cheating on her, and they were in an apartment together. So essentially she has to move out now. She's broke, so she can't afford a place of her own, and she doesn't, her parents, they died when she was younger and whatnot, so she's an orphan. She doesn't have anyone else in the world that she can kind of rely on. She's all by herself, until she gets like a stroke of luck wherein it's like a dream come true, because this like new job lands perfectly in her lap. Essentially, when she was a kid, she read this one book, and it became like her favorite book of all time, when it spoke about this apartment building or something like that called the Bartholomew in New York. And you know, it kind of glazed it over to the point where she was just like obsessed with just like the sound of it and whatnot, and the way it was described to be, because it was like supposed to be posh and rich and whatnot. And the job she gets is essentially in that same building, and she's getting paid to apartment sit over there, which is insane, because picture like your setting from your favorite book and you're getting paid to spend time there to look after that place. Like that'd be wild, honestly, like a dream come true. And so at the beginning she's just like bouncing with joy because this is like the solution to all her problems. She has to spend 12 weeks over there. She's getting paid handsomely and she's just going to use that money to then help her out in life later on, because she gets to do her dream job, spend some time there and whatnot, look after the place, but also she's getting paid for it, and it's like her dream destination. So it's like perfect until she starts like befriending this other apartment sitter called Ingrid, and they become like sort of close and whatnot over the one day they spend together. But as they're speaking on about their jobs and stuff, Ingrid lets her know that the Bartholomew, the building, it has like an extremely dark past, to the point where the apartment sitters, they keep like disappearing and whatnot, and there's like random things that happened ghostly and whatnot, and she believes it's haunted and whatnot in the past of the building, and she just thinks it's like shady and not safe, especially because along with the job they also have been given like a list of rules that they need to follow so they don't get like kicked off or booted off or anything. And the rules are also kind of weird, which is like disturbing is not allowed for the other people who are actually permanent residents there. She's supposed to stay every night in that place. She's supposed to make sure she has no visitors and stuff, kind of isolate herself there, and it's all weird, except it kind of culminates into all of kind of feeling like a true crime episode of like a podcast, when the next day after all the warnings are given, Ingrid disappears and suddenly Jules has to go figure out where she is, what happened to her, because as she starts going in the rabbit hole, there's obviously stuff from the past of the building and the residents and like weird creepy vibes overall, but also because she wasn't the first apartment sitter to disappear, and Jules fears that she's next in line to go as well, and she needs to figure out what shit is happening and what's going down there. And all I'll say is this was insane. It's very slow, okay? So I should have stuck with it and not have lost hope, because the last Riley Sager book I read, it kind of brought me back on the bandwagon, because I've read Survive the Night by him, which I didn't like very much. I've read The Only One Left, also did not like that very much. I thought both of those two were mid. Then this year I actually ended up reading The House Across the Lake, and I thought that was insane. So I just knew I'm gonna get back onto his books and see if I read a couple more of my thoughts on them. And all I'll say is this gave me the same vibes that one gave me in terms of the way I felt after having finished it, because you need to stick with it, you need to stand with the process, but when the ending hits you and the plot twists kind of line up, it's like the author's a genius. How did he plant all these dominoes in line to fall in such like a insane mastermind way? But also I doubt that there's anyone in this world who will be able to guess the ending of this book, because it was just like, it was out of pocket, but it makes sense for the story, and it's just like so insane that I was just like shook as I was listening to it, and I wanted to see what would happen next, because again, I'm reeling. It was insane. And yeah, if you guessed it, you're a genius, because what the hell was that? I'm still so shook, and that's the way I need my thrillers to make me feel, that the plot twist really gets me, and it got me here. So all I'll say is 4 stars. I had a great time overall, especially with the ending and stuff, and like it's so weird, so creepy and unsettling, but I still enjoyed every second. And now I can't wait to jump back into more of this author's backlist, because I know I have to read every single book he's written at this point, because this was again truly insane. I had so much fun, and now I will go back to the Kindle book I'm still in the middle of, because that's the only book I'm reading right now. It's just maybe I might start another audiobook depending on my workload for tonight, and depending on the fact that I'll need something for the commute to college tomorrow, which is why let's figure out what I'm doing. This will probably be my last update for tonight. All I'm saying is I do want to figure out what book I'm reading next, whether it be continuing the Kindle book I'm in the middle of or a different audiobook. But just know that I really doubt that anything's going to hit the high standards this book has given us in the video, because it was insane. I don't know how to feel, and yeah, you'll need to read it if you haven't already. But that's it. I'm going to go now, and bye. So it's Thursday, past midnight, so technically Friday, but basically I finished out my next book. So quick update before I get back to reading, because I have quite a bit of work to still finish out, and I figured I'll listen to my audiobooks, get the work done, it'll be all simple, fun and easy. But about the one that I just finished, it was actually the Kindle book, because I figured, hey, let me get the ones I'm already in the middle of read, so I jump on to the next one with like a clear head and I can fully focus on it, which is why this one, I was in the mood to like continue reading it anyway. It's called Cross My Heart, I Hope You Die. Thank you to the publishers for my copy. Again, I got to it later than the day it was published, so it's already out if you want to read it. And for a quick premise, we follow these 3 women, and they all find out that they've been dating the same man. So picture The No-Show by Beth O'Leary if it went wrong, and ask for Andrea if the girls in that, they figured out what was going on before they fell into the trap. But when these three women figure it out, they also find out that the three of them all lent out some forms of money to this man, and he's essentially like a con artist who scammed them off the money. And so they're all pissed off, rightly so, and they figure they'll go get revenge and stuff. They'll take him away in this like isolated cabin in the middle of nowhere in the mountains. They'll like take their revenge on him just to get the money back, and then after that leave him and whatnot, just to kind of settle their debts and then get away with it and whatnot, because they are kind of enraged. But then also when they end up taking him, it goes completely wrong because he ends up dead and they don't know who did it, so they're starting to suspect each other. There's also a killer in the mountains who's trying to pick them off one at a time, and so they need to survive that. And like, it's crazy, but at the same time I feel like the story was kind of slow, not a lot really happened, and I kept wanting to switch between my Kindle version and listening to it read aloud to me on NetGalley, because otherwise I wasn't able to focus. And like, it wasn't the best book, but then I feel like the second half definitely does pick up, because the kind of plot twist you just got towards the end, insane. So I don't know how I feel about it. I'm gonna say maybe 3.5 stars, because like, it takes a bit to develop and I wish more happened. But then when the twists started coming, a couple of them really made sense and they were insane, and so here we are. Overall though, I really enjoyed the like friendship between the three of them and how hilarious it was at some bits. And yeah, I guess I'm done with it now. Moving on to our next book. This morning I did end up starting it, the audiobook of it, on the commute on the way to college, but on the way back I actually came back with my friend and we ended up stopping for donuts and stuff, so there was no like chance to read then, which is why I don't have a lot of progress. But I'm hoping that if I stay awake, pull a half all-nighter of some sort, I should get some decent way through, because I have a bunch of things to do as well. So let's see what I end up doing. Let's see what happens with that one, and hopefully that will be better, because it's also a thriller, and then I've had it on my TBR for like years now, so I'm really excited to see it through as well. And that's my next update. Gonna get to it. Bye. Okay, and it's actually Friday now, so ignore the fact that I gave you like a post-midnight sort of sleepy and confused update, because at this point I've blanked out so much that I don't even remember what I said. But since then I did go ahead and stay awake and kind of continue listening to a different audiobook, and then right now is when I just finish it out, because it was on the longer side. It took me a little bit to get through it because I had other things to do as well. But now that I'm done, I figured discuss time. This one's called The Girl on the Train, and I feel like if you've been on any corner of the internet, this is just so widely popular to the point where I feel like every household has read it, that you'll have at least heard the name of it. And this, I know I wanted to read for quite a while now, but I've finally gotten around to it, because actually one of my friends recommended this to me, although she said it's kind of graphic, and I can definitely see where that comes in once you get reading. A quick premise. This one, we follow this woman, Rachel. Her own life is in complete shams. It's fallen apart. Her husband just divorced her and he's moved in with the woman he was having an affair with while he was cheating on Rachel, and then they have like a kid together and they have the picture perfect life, and she is there all by herself living in someone else's house, no job, nothing. And you know, she doesn't know what she wants to do next because she's oddly like infatuated with them and whatnot. But right now, as of what's going on in the story, she takes this train every single morning that passes by the same route, and it stops on the way at this one signal, wherein when it stops, it kind of, a seat especially, kind of faces out the window looking at this like picture perfect little like line of townhouses and stuff. And one of them actually, she projects all of her own ideals and desires onto, because she sees this one couple living in there. In her head, she calls them Jess and Jason, and they're supposed to be the picture perfect couple that have everything that she doesn't, because she kind of longs for what, you know, they would have had, what she also would have had technically if she and her husband didn't get divorced, wherein, you know, a happy perfect marriage, a nice house, they look so giddy and in love. And the thing is, it should be all okay, except every day when she passes by, she makes a point to watch out at the train window, stare at them and kind of figure out, you know, what's happening in their day, what are they up to, whatever. Except one day she actually sees something that completely breaks this entire like fantasy that she's created in her head, and suddenly she's not sure if she's like or mad at them or at herself for creating the fantasy, but suddenly she knows she has to get involved in what's going on, because that slowly devolves into like a true crime sort of phase, wherein the wife, so she calls her Jess, but her real name is Megan. she ends up going missing. They're trying to figure out who did it, and this woman Rachel thinks she has a bunch of information on it because she was passing by the train window. She watches and she has certain clues she think could be helpful, but then again, she's an alcoholic. She's kind of unreliable and untrustworthy, so like no one's ready to believe her, and so she's trying to like get the truth to come out because she needs to figure out for her own sanity what happened. But then also there's like a bunch of crazy shit happening anyway, and I feel like for me personally, at the halfway mark, I thought in my head, what if it was this person? Because there was one person who's been acting shady throughout the entire book, and I was just like, it would be insane if it would be that person. It was that person. So like I did definitely guess who it was, but otherwise I feel like it was a good enough book for the vibes that I came for, because personally I have slowly but surely been realizing over the past few months and stuff, every time I read one of these, that I really like reading books set in the English countryside, specifically mysteries and thrillers, because I feel like the cozy, comfy, gothic vibes, they're like unmatched and unparalleled, and this definitely gave me like eerie, spooky vibes. And also, if anyone's read 450 from Paddington, or 452 Paddington, whatever that was, by Agatha Christie. I read that back in high school. It kind of reminded me of that as well, wherein, you know, you're watching on the train, you see something you shouldn't have seen, and now you don't know what to do, but you know your life can't go on the way it was. You need to interfere because something truly drastic is about to change. And in that sense, it made sense. It's just the actual perspectives when we got them, some of them were kind of annoying, some of them I was wondering where the story is going, and, you know, it was kind of questionable. But overall, yeah, I feel like the ending wasn't the biggest sort of twisty moment for me, because I already guessed it, which is why I'm gonna say this was like 3.5 stars. It was a good like process, the means of reading it. It's just the ending wasn't that satisfying, which is why here we are. I still don't get the hype behind it, because I feel like so many people have read it at this point that I genuinely thought it would be something phenomenal, and it was good, but it's not what I expected and, you know, made it out to be in my head, which is why this is done now. I know there's a movie, probably gonna go watch that tonight, who knows, but I am a bit busy now because I have again like a whole to-do list of like things I need to do for college, so I'm gonna figure out what I'm listening to next as I'm working on all of these things. But yeah, then we will probably have done at least one more final book for this video while I'm doing all of this, because I still have the time, and I'll come and update, and hopefully that'll be the saving grace, because otherwise I found only like a couple books I really liked in this video, and I think I'll probably remember over the long run. The rest of them, at least it was for the vibes, if you know what I mean. Which is why here we are, gonna get to it now. See you all in a bit, and that was my update. Bye. And I went ahead and finished the final book, which is, I don't know if it's Summer Slasher or Slasher Summer, but either which way, I'm done with it now, and I had such high expectations going into it that I can confidently say that now that I'm done, this is probably the worst book I've read of the entire video, because it was horrendous. And so let's discuss. For a quick premise, we follow these 7 high school kids, and they used to have like movie club back in the day and stuff, and you know, they would like discuss all these like iconic slasher sort of movies, except now, present day, they are all trying to like find some sort of place where they can finally meet up and catch up over everything that's happened in life over the past few, I guess, like months that they haven't seen each other. And so there's this cabin that's open for renting where this other iconic local movie was filmed, and it's called Slasher. And you know, that cabin, because it was like its recording spot and it's like an open place and whatnot, it feels oddly nostalgic for them to like rent it out and spend the weekend there catching up. And so they figure that sounds like a good plan, as if that isn't like the premise of every other horror movie ever. And so they end up going there to figure out that, hey, they're gonna have like a nice weekend, just like hanging out, chilling and whatnot, nothing too insane, until they get this one call that says you guys are being hunted. The phone lines are cut down, and then one at a time, as night progresses, they actually start getting picked off by this like one masked killer. They need to figure out who it is, and all 7 of them, they're all inspired, the characters, from like one like iconic horror movie ever. So like all some of them have names like Carrie and Freddy and Michael, basically, you get it. And so all of them have these like inner instincts in them, thanks to the honing of that club that they used to have back in the day, that they don't want to be the first one to die and not pulling any stupid moves, and they want to be the final girl. And so all the stereotypes of a general low budget 80s slasher movie sort of coming into play here, except it was very comical to me because they kept repeating that over and over again, and it just got boring, alright, and nothing really happens. It feels like a PG-13 sort of movie made into a book, if that makes any sense. And like genuinely, it was just like melodramatic and like boring, and like literally nothing was going on the entire time. I was just waiting for it to end. and truly nothing really came off it even by the end of it, which is why overall so disappointed. This was 2 stars, and like the vibe of it, it's just I didn't actually like any of the story and whatnot, which is why if you've got similar recommendations in terms of vibes, please drop them down below for me, because I feel like this sort of book, the gothic, the eerie, like slasher aesthetic, like that is something I enjoy, but the actual story needs to be executed in a way that I don't cringe of secondhand embarrassment when I'm reading it, because this definitely gave that, and that did not help its case, which is why this was the final book we're reading in this vlog. Now that I'm done with it, we have also reached the end of this video, and if you have made it to this point and you guys did have a good time coming along with me, definitely consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, because YouTube thinks you know how to do them. And now, until I see you all for next week's video very soon, take care, stay safe. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you guys had a good time coming along with me in this week's summer weenie reading vlog, and hopefully y'all will pick up a couple of summer ween sort of aesthetic books as well, while we still have that sort of atmosphere setting up outside, the perfect like summer transitioning into fall vibes, because honestly there's nothing like it. I feel like in terms of like the actual vibe of this video, it was unparalleled as compared to any of my other reading vlogs. And if y'all want a part 2, please let me know while the atmosphere is still good, because honestly I would love to do it. I had the best time. I still have an extensive TBR I'd like to get to in this sort of same vein, and it just sounds so fun. But that is about it for this week's vlog. Like I said, I'll see you all next week, and until then, I don't know if I already said my usual stuff, so I'm just gonna repeat it either which way. Take care, stay safe. I hope you guys had a great day. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all now directly next week. So until then, take care, bye.